Hello, welcome back to the Creative Differences Podcast. I'm Dallas, and you guys didn't hear it, but Colin gave a great intro that we can't give you. But one day, we're going to make a Patreon, and we're going to have all kind of content like that. That too. Well, if I say OnlyFans, they're going to think like, yo, what was Colin doing?
I mean...
into the microphone.
Well.
Anyway, yeah, I'm Dallas.
I'm Colin, and I'm not going to do better than I already did that you don't know about, but black people, they're great. Give them your money.
All right. Strong start.
And I'm Demi, and this episode is sponsored by Black Excellence. Welcome to another episode of the Creative Differences Podcast, your one-stop shop for movie reviews, Fancast Fridays, Throwback Thursdays, and a number of other pop culture-related items. Today, we are going to be reviewing Atlanta and Marvel Studios' 30th film, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
30 films. It took 30 films to get some decent Latinx representation. And ironically, Gabby's not here for it.
Oh, man, I would love to have her for this one.
The irony kills me. Before we get into the episode, please like, share, subscribe, hit the buttons. Hit all the buttons. Not the dislike button, the other buttons. Or you are officially anti-black and anti-brown. Look at that. You don't want to be that. Like and subscribe. What, Colin?
Did I say anything?
You gave a look.
I did not.
A look of disappointment
They don't
and
know
shame. All right, let's get into it.
All right, we're going to start with Atlanta.
Atlanta!
Season 4, the final season.
The final season is over. My favorite show is over, and I don't know how to feel about it. It's created by Donald Glover. It stars Donald Glover, Brian Tyree Henry, Lakeith Stanfield, and Sassy Beats. I have said the IMDb summary for Atlanta so many times. Based in Atlanta, Ern and his cousin Alfred try to make their way in the world through the rap scene. Along the way, they come face to face with social and economic issues touching on race, relationships, poverty, status, and parenthood. That sounds like it's a normal show, and it is not.
Yeah, that sounds like a serious drama.
The way it's been described by Donald Glover was Twin Peaks with rappers, and that's way better and way more accurate. It's Donald Glover being weird for 4 seasons.
I don't even know if it's for 4 seasons.
I mean, so he was, like, the initial ones aren't as weird as 3 and 4, definitely.
It's mostly for the 3. It's mostly for the last 2 seasons.
It's, like, relatively, yes. Number 1, relative to 4, is normal. I mean, but, like, they were doing some strange things already.
Strange moments. 3
Teddy
and 4.
Perkins is more than a moment.
There's an invisible car at number 1.
He's a movement.
And the nigga, if you don't bite this sandwich, the Nutella man. Like, that's weird.
Yeah, but 3 and 4 are,
like,
legitimately weird. All the way through.
But yeah, we're talking about 4 today. I love it. It's after season 3, which I also loved, but I understood a lot of the complaints. You know, a lot of this doesn't have the main cast.
About a third of the episodes for season 3 didn't have the main cast in them.
Was any of season 3 in Atlanta?
No, it was all in Europe.
Well, no, it's funny because some of the anthology episodes do take place in Atlanta.
Maybe the anthology episodes, yeah.
But no, the core group is in Europe in season 3. And then they come back at the end. But yeah, season 4, we back in Atlanta. We back with the group. Everything's as weird as it always is.
Hella weird.
And I love it. It's just, these actors, like I already knew Donald Glover when the show started. But just, I was talking to Kayla about it yesterday. Brian Tyree Henry, Lakeith Stanfield, and Zazie Beetz, just like where they were in my mind.
They weren't
when
anywhere
the show started.
When the show first started.
Exactly. And just seeing where they've gone, both in my heart, but also just like in Hollywood.
They're everywhere.
All immensely successful. And I love that for them so much. This year alone, Brian Tyree Henry, seeing his reign, seeing him in Bullet Train, which I know you still haven't seen, but you should. And then back to this.
And then Eternals last year.
Like, the man is an actor. The man is cinema. Call Brian Tyree Henry. He has a cinema on his hands. It's so good. I love this show. I'm going to miss it. I love how weird it gets. I love that they do things that logically don't make sense. You're in the last season. You have 3 episodes left to tie up all your loose ends. What are you going to do? A mockumentary about a goofy movie being the blackest movie ever made. Like, hey, we're really looking like what's going to happen? What's up with Darius? Is Alfred cool? A dude just tried to kill him. Is Ern going to move to LA with Van? Nope, goofy movie.
What's funny is they do kind of wrap up all of those storylines with individual episodes. And then the series finale is just like an Atlanta episode.
Right. And that finale, the way that it gives me such Inception vibes, because of the whole idea of Darius and the deprivation tank and the is it a dream? Is it real? The episode is called It Was All a Dream. And then
And we ain't never gonna know.
right.
But it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. It was the journey. But also him using a thick Judge Judy as his totem is just the kind of ridiculous thing that I would come to expect from this show. And it's so funny and so stupid.
It is a really good show that has definitely evolved. There was an evolution between that second season and that third season.
Yeah.
Because there was definitely such a time gap and the world had changed so much in the span of those 2 years that it was off air.
Mm-hmm.
It's why 3 and 4 feel so crazy to me, because I'm like 1 and 2, I'm like, yeah, there's some weird stuff.
Right.
But like, it's a weird comedy, but it's not super weird. It's
Mm-hmm.
still more on the comedic side of things. 3 and 4, I'm like, bro, what are we doing? There's a fake D'Angelo in a safe house somewhere, and we're doing a documentary on the Goofy movie, and
There's a clear Tyler Perry parody who is
one of my favorite episodes.
built up an immunity to grits.
And he has a piano that types all of his scripts.
Oh, that episode is so good. But man, what did Tyler Perry do
To the black
for y'all
community.
to come with him like that? To take shots at this man?
I don't know, but Zazie Beetz is amazing in that episode.
She's
I
fantastic.
love Zazie so much, and I love watching her in things. Mostly, I feel like I mostly see her in Atlanta.
Mm.
But I mean, she was good in Joker, which is not a movie that I particularly enjoy watching, but I do admit is a good movie. And she's great in that. And she's great in Deadpool. I hope that she goes back in Deadpool 3, because I love Domino. But yeah, she's great on this. Like, the whole cast is really great on this, but it's a wild ride. And sometimes, like, there are things that get tied up, obviously. Like, you were asking the question, are Ern and Van gonna move to LA? Like, is their relationship gonna get fixed by the time we're done here? I feel like the camping episode definitely gives the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
There's the question of Alfred, and I think season 3 brought up this question of his inspiration and what he actually wants out of his life. And I think the farm episode kind of answers that. And even if it doesn't answer that, it leaves him in a position where we feel good about where his life is heading.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Darius, who is going to be Darius forever and always.
And then we find out things about him in the last episode.
We're trying to get backstory on Darius
Like,
in
yo,
the last episode.
what? We've been with this dude for 4 seasons and we're just now finding this out?
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
That's what we're doing out here.
Like, it's just the kind of show that will give you these powerful moments. And then any other show would
Explore
come back
them.
to that, build to it,
Like
circle back.
You were mentioning earlier, there was an episode where we find out that Ern was molested.
They say abused.
Abused.
Yeah, and they don't specify the type of abuse.
Okay.
But given the scene and the context and the performance from Donald Glover, it's serious regardless of what kind of abuse it was.
Abuse is always serious.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he was abused, but we're never actually going to explore that.
I was waiting for some kind of resolution.
Nope.
It's just this thing happened to you. Good thing you're in therapy.
It's why you are the way you are. It's like we find out these backstory things that give us, you know, the indication of why these people are the way they are.
Mm-hmm.
Those backstory things inform who they are.
Right.
But that is only important because of what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Show is still funny.
Still funny. Sometimes it's not even trying to be. And it's just one of the things I love the most about the show is the creativity and just not trying to stick to any kind of genre guidelines or anything like that. It's just, this is the story I want to tell. Is it a comedy this week? Maybe, maybe not. And it's all good. It's compelling. If they're giving a message, it is interesting. If it's a comedy, if it's a drama, if it's a horror.
If it's a thriller, it has been all of the above.
Alfred in the farm with the hogs.
The farm.
It's like, oh, this is a thriller / horror at this point.
I wanted to throw hands over the farm episode because I was like, can Alfred please just catch a break? Every season we got to do something to traumatize this man. And I just want to give him a hug. He's already having a hard time.
He almost died a couple times in this season alone.
And it's exhausting.
Like,
let this man rest.
and then he just won't talk to nobody about it.
I think the last thing I want to talk about, because yes, we've talked about it's funny. It just will do anything that it wants to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's also, specifically this past season, there's a lot of commentary on art and the making of art and the relationship between artists and their art. I think that there is a lot of I don't know if there's a lot of, but I've been watching people react to it and kind of do like their own analyses of the episodes because I feel like you could draw so much from them.
Yeah.
There's so much symbolism and so much metaphor within it. This show is obviously from his perspective.
Right.
He created it. I am a firm believer that all art is a reflection of whoever has created that art, whether they are inserting things into it that they realize consciously or not. So it does feel like there's like almost like a parallel between like some of the things that are being said on the show and the way that people react to Donald Glover or to Atlanta itself, specifically within like the last 2 episodes, I think.
There's just so much to dive into with the show. I could write a series of essays on it. And
I'm sure somebody could write an essay about like every episode of the show.
Every single one.
It wouldn't be enough.
No. And that's just one of the things I love about it.
Also, it kind of just, it changed the landscape of comedy.
Definitely.
Of like streaming cable comedies specifically. Like a lot of shows want to be like Atlanta now. Like if you pitch a comedy, like sometimes you'll be like, oh, it's like Atlanta and like this because Atlanta has been such a different type of show.
Right. I feel like a comedy, I don't know if a lot of these shows that are on now would have gotten the green light if not for Atlanta's success.
Yeah.
Especially considering FX, that's where you go to do weird stuff. And now they've been cranked out even more comedies like this, which is good because the ones I've seen, I like them all.
Yeah. Atlanta is groundbreaking. It was fantastic throughout all of its 4 seasons. And if you haven't watched it, now it's done. So you guys should definitely watch it.
Yeah, just be ready for some weird.
Ready for anything.
All the weird stuff. But also, yeah, shout out to Hiro Murai because he directed most of it.
Yeah.
And he's just so good.
And Donald Glover directed quite a number of these episodes too.
Yeah, he did The Goof That's Out by the Door, which amazing title.
Of course he did.
And he did the Tyler Perry episode.
Of course he did.
Yeah. That's Atlanta. I love it. I'm going to miss it. Donald Glover, do something else now. I'll be ready for Mr. and Mrs. Smith or whatever.
Now,
oh boy,
going from Atlanta to Wakanda. More Black excellence.
Yep. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. Y'all already know. It's directed by Ryan Coogler. It's written by Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole. It stars Letitia Wright, Lupita Nyong'o, Denai Guerrera,
yes,
Winston Duke,
Tenoch Huerta, Angela Bassett,
Martin Freeman, Dominic Thorne, Michaela Cole, Florence Kasumba, everybody. You know Trevor Noah's in this movie?
Yes.
I did not know that
I didn't know it
until
I saw the credits.
Crazy.
I was wondering whose voice that was too.
Yeah, apparently he's in the first one. He's playing the same. He does the voice in the first one too. Yeah, that's what it said. I didn't even remember that thing being in the first one.
I don't either.
It's absolutely in the first one. It tells Martin Freeman that he's going to die.
Right. That is him. It says shields at such and such percent, blah, 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 blah.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
him.
that's right.
He's also probably then in Infinity War, because there's a bit of talking with him there.
Okay.
Maybe. He didn't have a name in the first movie, and he was not nearly as prominent. I think, because
they address him so directly in this one.
Yeah.
Creel, we gotta do.
This felt like a Tony Stark AI. But
right.
Anyway, regardless.
IMDb summary. The people of Wakanda fight to protect their home from intervening world powers as they mourn the death of King T'Challa.
Yes, we all mourn the death of King T'Challa.
Yes, we do. Man.
Here we go.
What a movie. I haven't been this excited for a movie in a while. Like, I've been excited for movies, obviously. But just being there Thursday, I was like, oh, snap. I'm really about to see another Black Panther movie.
Yeah. Oh boy. First off, if you can see it in IMAX, I highly recommend it because the IMAX stuff is gorgeous. It's amazing. I went to see a double feature. So I watched the first movie and the second movie back to back in the theater. So it was wild because I went from like super hyped because the first movie is just so good. And I was just like, man, that joy that you feel after watching that first movie, like I feel it every single time.
Yeah.
And then within that first few minutes of the second one, I was crying.
Took all that joy.
I was just like, I'm sad. I am so sad right now. I came out of my first viewing of this movie exhausted and possibly dehydrated from all the crying I had been doing.
Ryan Coogler was like, run that joy, homie.
Run it.
But before we get into all the emotion.
Oh, yeah.
Colin saw this one. It's not often that we get a movie that Colin sees with us.
True.
Today's a special case. Initial thoughts. Or, basic thoughts. Brief thoughts.
This movie was fine. I went into this thinking, ooh, Marvel has made one really great movie. Let's see if they can do it again. And they didn't for me. But that's okay. It is fine. It is enjoyable. I don't have the connection to it or to Chadwick Boseman that a lot of people do. So that wasn't going to hit for me.
Right.
I knew that going in, and it didn't, and that's fine. It was a good time. It's a Marvel. They do some Marvel stuff. Fight some people. They blue. They not blue. They blue. They not blue.
That is correct. They are blue and they are not blue.
I liked that little detail.
Yeah, it took me a second to catch on at first. I was like, wait, weren't they supposed to be? Oh, okay, that's how that works. But I was like, all right, I see you.
Man, I love this movie.
I do too, and I'm glad that I saw it a second time before we reviewed it, or else I would just be going off emotions alone. I would have nothing to say except, well, I was emotional.
Let the emotions lead you.
I would like to have something comprehensible to say. And I wasn't going to have anything comprehensible to say if I just went off emotions alone. Immediately after seeing it, like the first thing that I wrote on like social media was that like it's a dope fantasy sci-fi epic. It is definitely an epic. Oh my gosh. It's a worthy sequel to the first one. And it is a beautiful, mournful goodbye. And I think the story is excellent, especially considering everything that Ryan Coogler and Joe Robert Cole had to kind of go through to finally get to that point.
Yeah.
Because there was a script done before Chadwick passed.
Right.
And then you got to rewrite the
They had to change the whole story.
entire thing. And for it to come out as good as it did, because we've heard about stories of, you know, production issues, not quite of this magnitude. I don't know. It's almost miraculous, in my opinion, that this came out as good as it did.
Yeah. Ryan Coogler, man, he is that dude. He's undefeated. Every movie that I've seen from him has been great. I've loved all of them.
Yo, give Ryan Coogler his things. He is the best Marvel director. I will take no arguments at this time about it.
Yeah.
The dude is just so good at what he does. And like the story, despite dealing with so much, because there are so many things happening in this movie.
So many.
It never feels convoluted.
Okay.
It all feels like it goes together. Its handling of grief is extremely raw and nuanced and relatable with each character dealing with it in a different way.
I like that. I like that they give each character their time to express their grief in the way that they do. Colin, to bring it to something that we both watched, the way that Midnight Mass does with religion, it's not just look at how religion is for Bev or look how it is for Riley. It's different for different characters and different people express it and interact with it different ways. This movie does that with grief. For Shuri, they show the anger and the sense of loss. And then Ramonda, they show, you know, needing to be there for her family. Okoye is still like tied to her sense of duty and really sticks to that. Yeah,
that sensation of this has happened, but I still have to keep moving.
And then the way that Nakia handles it, which is different from everybody else.
Way different than everybody else.
And the way that, I think it was one of the lines that Shuri says when she's talking about T'Challa, I was just thinking, some of this, if you just told me it was the actors talking about Chadwick, I would be like, yeah, that still fits.
There are so many moments in this movie where I'm just like, this is just us talking about Chadwick.
Right.
We're not really talking about T'Challa anymore.
So when the person who passed away is, you know, so close to the other people involved, including the one who's making the movie, it lends itself to that in a way that really makes it feel authentic, because it is.
Yeah, because she talks about how she didn't get to say goodbye.
And how he suffered in silence. I was listening to that Black Panther podcast with Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Got to get to that.
We've heard before that nobody knew.
Yeah.
People didn't know he was sick. Ryan said that Chadwick was sick when he met him. They went through their entire friendship and relationship with him not knowing that until after. So that line is just, that's Ryan.
This is one of those movies where you can feel that everybody put their heart and soul into it and their love, and that this is not just, this is something we wrote. And
right.
Like, yes, we're trying to say something, but this is like, not only are we trying to say something, this is what we're actually feeling in this exact moment as we are filming it.
Yeah.
We're not pulling from something from the past. We are pulling from something that is currently present in all of us. I think that hit me even more just because I'm freshly mourning. Yeah. I'm freshly still in grief in my own personal life. And so it was just like watching it, I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
I'm being like, it is a mirror being reflected back at me. And so that's why, like, the first time it was like, oh my God, this is painful.
I think Dallas and I were talking about that because you said, you know, there was a moment in the middle of the movie where you almost had a breakdown, and we were going into it going like, what? I think as Dallas said earlier off mic, like, how many times is T'Challa going to die?
Right. Like, how many times going to kill the Black Panther?
But then it's like, we got to a certain point and it was like, oh, yep. For a lot of people, this is going to hit.
Yeah. And it's just like, if you've gone through grief, it's like, a lot of this is what it feels like. I'm impressed with how well you are doing this, but also I'm hurt right now in a lot of ways. That's also why I'm glad I went to see it a second time, because like the first time it was like, I can't get past my own emotions.
Yeah.
Let me see it a second time because I need to be able to like actually see the film for what it is and not just my own emotions. But also, I predicted the other theme of the movie. I said it. I did. I've said it on this podcast about 3 times already. I correctly guessed the black versus brown communities theme that was in it, and how colonialism or government powers will come in and not even do anything super direct, but it's just enough to get those communities to start fighting.
Yeah. Or like, even if they're not going in with that intention, the things that they will do will lead to that.
Yeah.
Like just, oh, we're going to mess with this thing here because we want this for our own selfish reasons. And then that affects both of these communities in negative ways. And now they have to fight for what's left. Not to get too specific.
And I was super happy because I was like, yes, I called it from the trailer, from the teaser trailer even. Like, I was so happy.
But also the fact that that story, separate from, and you know, it is obviously intertwined, but separate from the story of the grief and all of that, is so well fleshed out and well done. Because
that's why this movie is 2 hours and 41 minutes.
Because with everything that they were all going through, especially Ryan, because he directed and wrote the movie.
Yo, he said he almost quit filmmaking because of this.
And I understand. But like, with everything that this movie was for him, I could completely understand if all the T'Challa stuff felt very front and center, and then the other stuff kind of fell to the wayside.
But it doesn't.
But it doesn't at all. Like, that feels just as important in this movie.
And the grief is also very important to both sections of the movie, too.
Yeah.
It's not just, well, we're grieving T'Challa, but also Namor is doing his own sort of, it's almost like an aftermath of his own sort of grieving that he has to do as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of parallels that I liked between Namor and Talokan, and then Shuri and Wakanda.
It was really well done. Like, it's one, man, just, there is only one storyline in this movie that I would cut, and it's the one that connects it to the wider MCU. Because I was like, while I enjoy this storyline, like, I don't mind it, obviously, because I'm an MCU fan, I like it, it's cool, but I was like, but if this wasn't here, I wouldn't care.
I love Martin Freeman, so I'm glad he's there.
I do. But it felt like their only purpose to be there would be to kind of, you know, get the dominoes moving. But then, like, they kind of kept coming in, and it was just like, this is not important at all to what is happening in the rest of this movie.
Right, because at least in the first one, he is directly involved in the final act conflict.
Yes.
And this one, it's kind of just, he's there, but a lot of the scenes later on with him is just talking to old girl, and it's like, we don't need to see them talk. Get back to what's going on.
I mean, hey, I gasped when that reveal was made in the theater. I was the only person who gasped, and somebody laughed at me for it. But
yes, you are a nerd.
Yes, I'm a nerd. Like, I look forward to what that is teasing and what that is going to lead to.
Right.
That's definitely leading to something further down the line in the MCU. But it was one of those times where I was just like, I don't need this. I just want to go back to the war that we're about to start between these two countries.
While we're, you know, bigging up everything.
That's my only complaint about this movie.
The performances.
That was where I was going to go next.
Here's what I got to say. Somebody get Letitia vaccinated so she can go to the Oscars and get her award, because she killed it.
She did. Like, I remember before the movie came out, a lot of people didn't think Letitia Wright could carry the movie.
Okay.
To which I'm thinking, like, did y'all not see that episode of Black Mirror that she did before Black Panther came out?
I was just thinking about that, but I'm sure a lot of people didn't.
First off, she's so good in that episode.
She's a great actress.
But, like, also technically she doesn't have to carry the movie. It's very much an ensemble piece with Letitia kind of front focused because she's Shuri. Man, she is so good.
Right. She's good enough to carry the movie even though she doesn't have to.
Like, she is masterfully portraying Shuri's grief, which comes with sadness, but also a lot of anger.
Right.
And just like that, it's a lot of complexities that go into that, but also still manages to capture the wonder that Shuri has when it comes to certain things. Like when she sees Talokan for the first time.
Right.
Like capturing that wonder, like that's not lost on her. And also being able to occasionally like crack just a little bit to show us peaks of the Shuri that we fell in love with in the first movie.
Yeah. Which is why I'm so glad that they bring in Dominique Thorne as Riri. Also amazing.
Yeah,
but
so good.
their friendship, like their relationship, is great. One of the things I love the most about Shuri from the first movie is her wonder with science. How excited she gets to tell Ross about all of the science that she developed. Because for Wakanda, it's like, yeah, you know, that's how trains work. But for this colonizer who's never been there, he's like, yo, what kind of technology is this? She's like, oh, you're not even ready. Let me tell you. But to see her with Riri, another genius, it's great.
Because all of our characters that we have met before are all going through grief, so they're a lot more subdued than they were in the first movie. Riri's a nice breath of fresh air because she gets to be the comedic relief most of the time in the movie. She gets to, and also she gets to, there's a parallel, a comparison almost between her and Killmonger from the last movie, where Killmonger's reaction to Wakanda is very negative because he's been abandoned. He's part of the lost tribe. Then we get Riri, who comes in and sees Wakanda, and she has a more positive reaction, something more optimistic, and it's cool to see, like, okay, first movie, this was a negative reaction to Wakanda. Here's the flip side to that. Yeah. And Riri is what it brings that in. And also, it's a good introduction to her, and it'll be fun to see her show when that finally comes out.
I'm very excited. Like, you know, the MCU has got to MCU. We need the quips. We need the humor. We can't just be sad for 2 hours and 40 minutes. So her coming in, just, oh, y'all stop having Black Panthers not get kidnapped. Like,
why was that the line I was thinking of?
She's just
such a good line. Good.
And even the characters, like we said, the ones who have been kind of more subdued by grief, like Okoye in this movie is hilarious for a good amount when they go to get her. And like the way that Okoye looks at people, I can't remember what she calls her, like tiny American girl, tiny genius, something like that. She's like, you want to play games? Like, yeah, everyone's still so good.
Denai Guerrero remains iconic as Okoye. And I enjoyed her arc too, because her arc is all about going from being the traditional woman that we've met in the first movie and kind of having to grow beyond that. Yeah. Everybody kind of has to break out of their mold in this movie. They have to kind of go beyond what they were in that first movie, which every sequel should do, to be fair. Right. But this time around, it feels a lot more like emphatic and defined. Angela Bassett. Man. Angela Bassett is a tour de force, my guy. Just, she gonna give it a performance, man. She gonna give a performance. Give her the Oscar nom. At the very least, you owe her. She has given everything.
Have I not given everything?
She's so good. That scene,
oh my God,
the scene where she's yelling in that room, I was like, oh.
I think I gasped during that scene too, because I just did not expect that at all.
She killed it with every
scene,
every level of energy, from that emphatic yelling to the subdued in the beginning when they're at the UN and she's talking and she's saying, like, you know, we're not worried about the dangerous potential of vibranium. We're worried about the dangerous potential of all you people. Yeah,
and when she's having her moment with Shuri, when she's trying to get Shuri to actually grieve properly, because that is something that Shuri is desperately avoiding.
But yeah, just like so good. Even the more subtle choices that could be credit to Angela, could be credit to Ryan Coogler, but probably both, because they're both great at what they do. But like when she's in that place with Riri and the attack happens at the window that they're standing at, and she just puts Riri behind her. She doesn't move back. She doesn't get scared. She just like, back up, little girl. I got this. And it's like, love. You ain't got no superpowers, Ramon.
She gonna take him anyway, though.
Right. Like,
speaking of taking him, Tenochtitlan.
Speaking of taking him.
Him being Tenochtitlan.
Demi wants to take him.
I don't.
Yo, what do you mean?
Wait. I don't, but a lot of the fandom does.
A lot of people do. Tenochtitlan.
Namor.
And his goofy little ankle wings. I really like this portrayal of Namor. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Don't like the character from the comics. He's just an unrelenting dick. But in this version of him, I understand him. I don't like everything he does, obviously.
He's not some arrogant, godlike, or god wannabe figure.
Right. Like everything he does, I see why he does it. They give the backstory. A lot of the parallels between his place and Wakanda, like, I feel it. It's like, okay.
Chef's kiss. Beautiful writing.
I like this. I like cinema. And Thanos does a really good job.
He's fantastic. Like, he's charming and he's compelling. But like you were saying, he also plays every intention that Namor has very well. Like, there's never a moment where you don't understand why he's doing the things he does. You don't have to agree with it. But you're like, okay, I get it. I get why you're doing this. And it's the same with Killmonger, which is why Ryan Coogler continues to make the best MCU villains, because it's like, I don't agree with you. I don't think you're correct in the method that you're going about this. However, I do think that there are truths in what you're saying. And I think Tenoch Huerta was really good. And I'm looking forward to what they continue to do with that character. I'm looking forward to seeing if they give us the Sue Storm love triangle. Because his hatred of the surface world is so strong. I don't know, man. How? Sway?
He'll bag a white baddie from the surface.
I guess we'll find out. But yeah.
Colin showed me a tweet about that probably an hour ago. It said something. What did it say? Like, given all the thirst that people have for Namor, like, they're going to have to cast an absolute top tier Reed Richards. Cause, like,
yeah, there's been so many different versions of that. Yeah. Like, oh man, their Reed Richards got to come in swinging because he's got some competition.
Mr. Studio Girl over here.
I mean, he probably would. I don't think. And the funny thing is, Namor never cares anyway. So
he's like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever, I'll take her anyway.
For me. But speaking of people who have been historically thirsted over, M'Baku.
Okay, I was like, I don't know where we're going with this. There are two people left that I can think of. I don't know.
M'Baku's so great. He comes in and he just steals the show again with his first scene coming in, chomping that carrot and just getting into it with Okoye. Calling her a bald-headed demon is the funniest thing. You bald-headed demon. Like, that little back and forth.
M'Baku isn't in this film as much as I think a lot of people would like him to be.
Right.
But I think every time he is on screen, he makes an impact.
He does.
And his presence is definitely felt. And I like the growth of his character as well, which his growth has a lot to do with Shuri, obviously. I like that growth in that. And I wonder where, when we finally do get a Black Panther 3, because we will be getting a Black Panther 3. When we finally do get to the next movie, I wonder where that will lead us and where that will go.
Yeah, which is really good.
I mean, there's one more person I got to talk about. Because Lupita Nyong'o, as Nakia, remains one of my favorite characters in this franchise, in this series. I love Nakia, and I did in the first movie too. She's basically James Bond in this movie. And I love it.
She's great.
She speaks like 5 different languages in this movie alone, which is wild. I'm just like, so Lupita spoke Korean last movie, and y'all were like, oh, let's just give her all the languages. Like, she is good at this. But I like that they show us what Nakia's war dog skills are. And I also like how her story plays out. I can't talk too much about how that story plays out, but I like the way the story plays out because of her role in the first movie as T'Challa's lover. Obviously, this is going to take a different toll on her because she was in love with the man.
Right.
And also, definitely, you should watch it a second time around because, boy, things hit differently that second time you watch it.
I don't know which things you're talking about exactly.
Yeah. I'll tell you after we're off mic because it's spoilery.
Okay. It wasn't.
Also, I really want, I hope in the future we get more Ayo and Aneka because they're the Midnight Angels in the comics. I thought we were going to
get more of that too.
I was hoping we would, but also it's a 2 hour and 41-minute movie. I understand if we can't.
And where they go with that Midnight Angel thing, to me it makes sense in the context of this story.
Yeah.
But I expect, oh, cool. We got Ayo, we got Aneka, Midnight Angels.
And I know that we're getting I think we're supposed to be getting a Disney Plus spinoff eventually.
About them?
About, not necessarily about them, but from Black Panther in general.
Oh, I'm with it.
So maybe, hopefully, we'll get more of the Midnight Angels in that. But I love the Midnight Angels in the comics, and I love Aneka and Ayo in the comics. So I would love to see more of them. The visuals this time around, even better than the first, I would say. Like, Rachel Morrison did a beautiful job with the cinematography the first time. We talked about that in the Throwback Thursday, how good that movie looks. And I think Autumn Durald Arkapaw, who is the cinematographer this time around, I think she continues to do wonderful work and does it on like a grander scale than the first movie. Like, this movie feels a lot more epic than the first one did. And maybe it's just because, hey, we're actually going to war this time. So war epic, bigger stakes, bigger movie.
Yeah.
But it looks wonderful. But it doesn't feel like a different look altogether. It just kind of feels like we have evolved and just made it bigger.
Okay.
We get to see a lot more of Wakanda. We get to see a whole new world of Chalocon.
Yeah.
Hannah Beachler and Ruth E. Carter are coming for more Oscar nominations with their production design and costume design work on this movie. There is clearly so much research that went into the different cultures that they are, taking inspiration from.
Yeah.
For Talocon with, I guess, Mesoamerican indigenous cultures, mostly Mayan, I would assume. But
Yeah, they
I
do
could
say
be
that.
wrong, but they mention the Mayans in the movie, so I'm going to just go off of that. And then obviously from, different African cultures for Wakanda, as they did in the first movie. It's so well done, and I love that even down to the smallest details. Like, it's really the details that make it for me. The details in the clothing and the production design, even in the subtitles.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when it was a language that, like, was any language that we typically know, it was in white lettering, white font. But if it was Wakandan, it was yellow font. If it was in Yucatamaya, it was in blue font.
I like that a lot.
I loved that because the first time I saw it, Nakia goes from speaking Spanish to Yucatamaya.
Yeah, that was the one I was going to bring up.
But I didn't notice that the first time I watched it. I thought she was just speaking Spanish the whole time. And then the second time I watched it, I went, oh no, she switched.
Yeah.
And then switched back.
And it makes sense because she's trying to, talk to someone who's kind of dismissing her. She's like, you speak Spanish, whatever. We're in Mexico, everybody speaks Spanish. But then when she switches to the other language, the woman's like, oh, okay. You know a little something. Maybe I should talk to you.
Yeah, it's those really small details, which I think is like why the Black Panther movies are typically like above and beyond. In the Throwback Thursday, you guys talked about how, I think Colin mentioned it, how Wakanda feels like Marvel trying to actually make a different type of place and like make a new world. And I think one of the things that I really like is that the Marvel world is based in our reality, kind of. It's based mostly on our reality. It's superheroes within our world.
Yeah.
And there are only a few fictional places, Madripoor, Wakanda, Talokan now. And what I like is that Marvel, even though these are fantastical worlds, they are very heavily based in actual cultures. So far, only Ryan Coogler has really done these, except for Madripoor, but he's the one who has had to develop Wakanda, and he's the one who has had to develop Talokan. And both of them are so well researched and so well done and so well grounded in those cultures, but still feel so magical and fantastical and feel like places that colonialism haven't touched. And they just do such a good job of it.
Yeah.
It's just so good. And like, mind you, I'm not going to be able to talk about everything I love about this movie.
No.
We don't have time for all that.
No.
But it's just so good. Everything is so good. It's so well done. And it's, like I said, it almost feels miraculous that this movie was able to turn out as good as it did because of all the things that happened behind the scenes.
Yes. And last flowers I want to give, Ludwig Göransson.
Oh, yeah. Score.
That man got skills. He came in just like he did last time, did his thing in a different way, like different enough.
But also still with some of the themes that weaved in from the first movie. Like when the ancestral plane plays at the beginning of the movie, I was like, no, y'all gonna get me. You already got me. Leave me alone.
My favorite thing that he does from in the first one was probably the Killmonger's music, but the Dora Milaje sounds that he works into the score, and how in this one it was different, like, same sound, but in that first scene, when they walk out of that like safe or whatever, and you kind of hear it like in the background before the action kicks up, I was like, get this nigga another Oscar. Like,
He coming for it again.
It was so good. That whole scene, like the visuals of them walking out the way they do, the build to it, but that score, man. Soundtrack also fire. I like the first one better, but Kendrick
I also like the first one better, but I do like, in this movie, I like the usage of the soundtrack better.
Okay. They did use it very well. Because I think in the first one, it's like they use Pray For Me, but I think it's just the song playing in the place that they go to.
Yeah,
in Korea.
And then also the same with Ops.
Yeah, because he says, like, play some music, but,
And those two are the only... And also, it's an Ops remix. It's not even Ops from the soundtrack.
Yeah. And then All the Stars plays in the credits. But, like, yeah they use these songs
a lot
in a
more
way that, like, it feels very
and it fits the emotion of the story as it's being played as well. Man, everything's just done really, really well, surprisingly so. I think this is my third favorite MCU movie. Mind you, that I have two movies as my number one because I can't choose between them. So.
Oh, okay, I get you. You know what's funny?
Yeah. No, I don't want to know what's funny. What's funny?
Not haha funny, but interesting. We're in the same situation.
Yeah?
Because I have a number one and number two, but I think my number two, this is also my third right now, depending on how many times I see it, but that might change. I think my number two for me is tied to a character the way that your other number one is
It's
for
tied
you.
to the character.
Yeah.
It's not tied so much to the movie as it is to the character.
And for me, it's like it is both, which I'm sure it is for you too.
Yeah.
But a lot of that is the character.
Because I feel like if I didn't care about that character as much as I do, it probably would be a mid-tier. But because I love that character so much and all the things I wanted, it's like, no, it's going number one next to Black Panther.
Right. And for me, my number two is right now No Way Home. That's a new one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I always get No Way Home Far From Home mixed up. I will never stop. No Way Home, because Spider-Man has been a character that's been so like close to me since I was a kid. And it's the most Spider-Man movie ever made. It has so much Spider-Man.
It's all the Spider-Man.
Right. And I just actually do love the movie and think it is the second best. But yeah, it's just funny that. And they're both, spiders.
Yeah. But Black Panther is number one always.
Of course. It's the best one.
I forgot to mention that I thought that this Marvel movie had one of the best mid-credit scenes, if not like the best. Because usually they're all like sneak previews for what's to come. Or if they're not that, they're usually just really funny ones. And this one was neither of those and was very fitting button to end the movie off with.
Yeah. All right. We talked about Black Panther a lot.
And honestly, we probably didn't say all the things that we were thinking about that movie. So
we couldn't do it if we had all the time in the world.
We probably couldn't, but tune in at the beginning of the year to hear us talk about why it's probably on our top 10 list.
100% going to be on mine.
Absolutely.
Colin was quiet. So now we're going to turn it over to his 10-minute take. I'm a little worried given what you told us.
I mean, you know what it is.
Oh, no.
So, the way the 10-minute take goes, I have a document with the list of the things, and usually I do a spinning wheel, but like I would have had to add things, and it's just like I didn't have the time. So I was like, okay, I'll just do a random number generator.
Right.
There are 21 things on here. Let's see where it goes. Okay, number 20. What is the O? So, watch the first 10 minutes of The Boys.
I knew it.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Okay.
Which is thankfully not nearly as bad as I was expecting.
Really?
Y'all made it sound like this show from the get-go was just deplorable, and it's like, no, one woman gets vaporized, but that's it.
That's pretty bad.
It's pretty rough,
it's
dude.
bad, but it's like I was
runs
expecting
through her.
Yeah, I guess I was just expecting way worse from the way that you
we
would talk
build
about
to
it.
way worse.
Yeah.
That's just the base.
For me, the first 10 minutes of the newest season is the worst.
Oh, that absolutely is the worst.
Yeah.
But as a
Yeah,
baseline,
She gets turned into Prego sauce, Colin, on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
While he's holding her hands.
Yeah.
Oof.
He's still holding her hands.
That's
He stay holding
pretty
her hands.
bad.
Yeah.
Where does it end? Where does the first 10 minutes end?
The first 10 minutes ends, I believe it's right after the funeral. Where
Okay.
it ended for me was he was sitting with his dad, and they were watching. A-Train had just been on TV saying, oh, she was in the middle of the street. And then he was like, no, she wasn't. She was 1 foot off the sidewalk. What you talking about?
Right.
And that's when it ended for me.
Okay. So, thoughts?
I mean, I might come back and watch more of it just because I also, I don't know. I thought it was going to be this ridiculous, horrible thing. And it's like, oh no, it's just one woman died and that sucks. But it's like, it's interesting, right?
That's when
because
we
on the one hand, I don't know that I like what it's doing because I think that shtick of they're superheroes, but they fuck up and people die is probably going to wear thin pretty quickly for me. But this one example of this man is a speedster and he couldn't stop. And so he just went through this woman.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. There was something about that. I was like, you know what? I respect it. Like, I guess that probably would happen. If you can't turn very well, or if you can't stop very well, which is what he says, I can't stop. Like, I guess sometimes that's going to happen.
but then you've got people like Homelander,
Yeah.
who these are not accidents.
And it's
These are choices.
interesting because, a lot of the show does seem to be a more realistic take on what superheroes would be from a standpoint of, how powers would affect other people.
Right.
And how the government and corporations would use superheroes given the chance. But also, that's the kind of stuff in the show that is...
Interesting.
Yeah, the show's dark and upsetting, but it's not just raunchy for raunchy's sake. And then they do get that kind of stuff as well. But I think that's why, by all accounts, the show is so much better than the comic. Because I've seen that moment in the comic book, and A-Train just kind of runs through her and is like, get out of the way, and then keeps going. Because Garth Ennis, I think is his name, the guy who wrote it, his whole thing is I hate superheroes, and I just want to, take them down a peg, and superheroes suck. And that's kind of his whole thing. It didn't really seem like he went deeper than that. But the show is doing more.
It's so much social
And
commentary.
that's why it's like, can't stop. And given the context, he's not saying I'm physically not able to stop. He's like, the thing I'm doing, I can't stop. This is dire.
Also, he
turns out to be a terrible person, but also, yes. Yeah, it is an interesting show. I would be interested to see Not if you like it, because I don't think you would, but how far you would get with it.
Yeah. Because the thing is, the reason that I hadn't watched it was because I had heard from you and to me, basically what sounded like it was just like shock and awe for shock and awe's sake.
Oh, no, it's never shocking.
Because you don't really talk about the stuff behind it. When you talk about, did you see that episode? You talked about, oh my God, did you see that guy having sex with the whatever, or that crazy thing where that person blew up or whatever?
Yeah. And that is, probably the purpose of a lot of shock and awe stuff in the media is we're going to get you to talk about this. But then, when we came back to do the review, or every time I talk about the show on the podcast, it is,
we do talk
I wouldn't
about
like this show so much if it was just that. Like, I like it for the other stuff in it.
Oh, I would have given up if it was just that.
Right. Like, Colin, when we were going to see Wakanda Forever, I was talking about, shows that have gotten close to making me cry.
Right.
Or movies. The Boys is one of the closest because of one of the endings, I think season 2. It's when little boy loses his mom.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that scene, I was like, yo, this is very sad and very well acted and very well written. So the show definitely has its moments. I'm curious to see what you would think about it.
I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I might keep watching it. I might not.
I doubt you will.
I only watch one thing at a time, and I'm technically in the middle of something else. So,
okay.
We'll see. But,
well, there's your 10-minute take right there on The Boys.
Yeah.
I've been looking forward to that one, I will be honest.
Yeah, I guess when I always forget what the first 10 minutes of a thing are.
Yeah.
Because I haven't watched season 1 of The Boys in years.
All I remembered was that a woman gets
more.
ran
I remember
through.
that.
There's more to the first 10 minutes. Like, you get some white woman whose name I don't know, talking about she wanted to be a hero forever and she wants to join the Seven.
Oh, Starlight.
Sure, her, okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But that's like a minute. But most of it is about Huey and that whole
makes
thing.
sense. It's Huey's story. But okay, interesting. Didn't go as badly as I thought. I just thought The Boys, Colin, nah. But cool.
News, because we have so much to get through.
News. Trailers.
We're going to try and run through these as quickly as possible.
All right, we are here for our most violent trailer tracking section. Started with John Wick Chapter 4.
Hey, guys. Y'all remember when John Wick Chapter 4 was supposed to come out the same day as The Matrix 4?
Oh, that does sound familiar.
Yeah, it was supposed to come out the same day as The Matrix Resurrection.
What a time.
Before, a virus struck. And now it's coming out 2 years after.
I'm so excited.
I love John Wick movies.
They're so good.
They are. They have no reason to be, but they are.
And, they're better than... Obviously, the action and the fight choreography is amazing.
Every time.
But the other elements of the movie that don't need to be as good as they are also good.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Because it's so easy nowadays to be like, we're going to make an action movie and our primary focus is just the action. The story doesn't have to be that good because people aren't coming for the story. I don't like when people say that that's okay for certain movies. I don't. It frustrates me because I'm like, listen, I can forgive it. I can get over it. Whatever. That doesn't mean that I like it.
Right.
Like, I would like the story to be good and the action to be good. And John Wick does both.
It does. The world building, the stories, the visuals, like that shot of him standing in the red light. I was like, yo, this is beautiful.
I just want to thank the John Wick series for bringing about the constant use of bisexual lighting in just about everything.
To clarify, that's blue, purple, pink?
Yes.
Okay. Some good looking colors.
Yeah,
colors.
Yeah, the John Wick movies have brought out this era of let's use neon lights for all the action movies.
I love it.
And I love it. It looks so good. At least there's some sort of color in there. It's beautiful. But yeah, it's a beautiful, the John Wick movies are really good looking movies. I feel like more so the more that the movies go along, they become better looking movies because, I'm assuming the budget is just getting bigger with every movie that they make.
Yeah.
So the first movie, I don't remember it looking quite as amazing, but man, that third movie, the third movie was gorgeous and it had great action sequences.
Right. They up it a lot, as we go along. Because the first one is the closest to our action's really good, so we don't really need to overachieve in other areas.
Not really, but even then the story is it's not a bad story. It's just very simple.
Exactly. And it's
and simple doesn't mean bad.
Dog. And even then, that is an oversimplification that people always say, despite the fact that, if you've seen the movie, it's more than that.
Oh, yeah.
But at the basest, most, the simplest level,
the basic instinct, they killed his dog.
But yeah, and even then...
Which a lot of people will relate to anyway, so...
Yeah, bro, you can't kill my dog. That's a good story, but then they just keep adding to it. And they do different things with the fight choreography.
Yeah.
Fights people on horses. He beats people with nunchucks. He kills people with books. Bill Skarsgård's here now. Love that.
I think one of the things that I really like about the John Wick movies is that it does one of my favorite things, which is like one of the reasons that I loved the show Killjoy so much, is that like you start off with a very simple story, but then with every season or with every movie in this situation, the story gets bigger, not to a point where it's confusing.
Okay.
So like the first movie, the dog thing, second movie, the car, the third movie was every hitman was out to get him.
Everybody in the world wants to kill you.
Yeah, the fourth movie is clearly him after the table. It's like all these things have repercussions. There are consequences to the actions of the movie previous, and the story of the next movie is just those consequences and how we deal with those consequences. And I think they do a really good job with that.
I cannot wait to see it.
Also waiting for The Continental to finally come out. I am aware that Mel Gibson is in it, but Katie McGraw is also in it. So,
yeah, you win some, you lose some.
it's definitely the situation here.
Yeah.
Next trailer, The Witcher Blood Origin.
More violence.
As a Witcher fan, I'm super excited. Also, there's only 4 episodes, which means it shouldn't take much for me to get through it.
True, you can knock that out.
I probably won't knock it out on Christmas, but maybe the day after.
You got stuff to do on Christmas.
Yeah, I got family stuff to do. Got to be responsible about that. I'm excited. I love Michelle Yeoh. She is fantastic. Oh, one thing I didn't mention about the John Wick movies, which I feel the same way about Michelle Yeoh, is I love Donnie Yen and Hiroyuki Sanada.
Yes.
Both fantastic.
Forgot that was Donnie Yen. Is he the one with the shades?
Yes.
Oh, he's going to kill it. I can tell from just that, little bit of that scene. Like, this might be the best fight scene we've had in the John Wick movie, which says a lot.
I don't know, because Hiroyuki Sanada is also in it, and he's also a beast.
He's great.
Like his scenes in Mortal Kombat,
those are fantastic.
They told him to slow down.
That's funny.
But yes, back to The Witcher. Michelle Yeoh, I love her. I mean, come on, Everything Everywhere All at Once. She was phenomenal in that movie. I think that she deserves an Oscar nomination for it. If she doesn't get one, I will be highly disappointed. She's such a great actress, and I love the Witcher universe that they've created on Netflix. I've read a little bit of one book. I've never played the video games, so the Netflix show is really my only indicator of anything about that universe. And I really like it. So I'm excited, and I'm very certain that this show is supposed to give us the origins of the Witchers and how they came to be, which has been discussed in other Witcher projects on Netflix, but it'll be fun to get to actually see it happen. The action in this trailer looks super dope. There's quite a bit of it. The Witcher has really great action, and it has ever since that first episode. Colin, you are not a big fan of The Witcher, but you said that you are down for this show.
Yeah, this trailer looks more interesting than anything in the first 2 seasons of The Witcher. I'm down. I think part of the reason that The Witcher is still really hard for me to care about is because I don't like the kind of character that Geralt is, where they don't say a lot. They're very, stoic. And this whole, group dynamic, and they all look like they're probably not going to be stoic. One of them ladies is singing.
She is singing.
They got the nigga who sang in The Witcher?
They do got the nigga who sang in The Witcher.
And that's his favorite character, last I checked.
Yeah, he's the most interesting.
He's great.
But, yeah, this looks interesting. I like that it's telling a completely different story, so I don't have to care about Geralt and Ciri.
It's 1,200 years before The Witcher, so yeah.
Right, exactly. They're going to talk about the first Witcher. What's that going to be like? I don't know. I'm interested. I want to know more about this world, so this is a way to do it. Plus, it's only 4 episodes, so, if I don't like it, it only took 4 episodes of my time. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I would argue that Yen is the most interesting character on The Witcher. But anyway, I'm excited. That is trailer tracking.
Okay, I have to say, rest in peace to Kevin Conroy. My Batman. Just Batman, stage actor, gay icon, all around.
True. I
great
forget
dude,
he is a gay icon.
by all accounts.
He was a fantastic Batman. I say as somebody who recently watched Batman, this year actually. I watched Batman the animated series this year in anticipation for the Batman. Yeah, he's so fantastic as Batman on that show, and I can understand why he is basically our entire generation's Batman, because he is phenomenal.
Yeah, it's a rough one. There's not much you can say besides rest in peace, prayers to the family, everyone involved, all the people who are close to him. And as someone who is just weirdly into voice acting, it hits me different because I've listened to podcasts and conversations about all these people talking about Kevin Conroy. Like Will Friedle, who voiced Ron Stoppable, played Eric Matthews. Terry McGinnis, he always talks about Kevin Conroy like he's his dad. He's yo, he got me into the game. He's the best Batman. I'll fight you if you say otherwise. So I was just thinking about man, he was such a big part of just like life for me growing up. I say every time we talk about a DC thing, regardless of if it's warranted, I talk about how the DC animated universe is the best version.
It's true.
And how they should just do that. And that's all based on Kevin Conroy. He's Batman. He's the one that started it all. And then he kept being Batman like for years into the Arkham games that I didn't even play. And all these movies, not all the movies, but a bunch of them. He's great. Rest in peace. But on to happier news. Daniel Kaluuya, he's Spider-Punk. I'm so happy.
Okay, for the record, he is Spider-Punk in Across the Universe, Spider-Verse.
Yeah, Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse?
I think
Across
so?
the universe.
Across the Spider-Verse. Across the Universe,
Across the Universe is the movie about the Beatles.
Okay. Is this the one that's about to come out?
Yes, I think so. I hope so.
I think so. I don't know if they have a title for the next one yet.
No, I think they're both. It's part 1 and part 2. Remember?
Ew. Dope.
Maybe he's in both.
I would hope so. I love Daniel Kaluuya. We didn't see him in Wakanda Forever.
He was busy working on Nope.
Yeah, he was making Nope at the time, which is fine because, as I said, Wakabi's a hoe. I don't like him. I love Daniel Kaluuya.
Poor Okoye, though.
Yeah, well, whatever. Niggas in jail. He's great. He's one of my favorite actors right now. Spider-Verse is one of my favorite movies right now. You just bring these two things that I love together. It's funny because my first thought was, is Spider-Punk going to be British? But then I remembered Daniel Kaluuya is one of the best people at doing an American accent.
True.
So it doesn't matter at all.
Man, if you had told me there's going to be a character named Spider-Punk, that's not who I would have imagined playing a character named Spider-Punk.
Me either.
Especially after I looked at a picture of Spider-Punk.
Right.
I'm fascinated. I'm curious. I've never heard of this character before until this casting announcement.
Interesting.
I really do like the design of the character, though. The design is so cool.
Yeah, that was the design I used throughout the entire Spider-Man 2018 game.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as I got that costume, I equipped that and never equipped anything else because it was so cool.
I think Spider-Punk came to prominence more in that game.
I haven't finished that game, so that explains a lot.
It's not like in it, but it's
No,
one of
it's
the
just like
costumes
one of
you
the
can
suits you
use.
get.
I know, but if I had seen the costume, I'd have been like, what in the world is this?
Right. Interestingly enough, the character, Hobie Brown, is the original Prowler. Like, Prowler is Miles' uncle in the Ultimate Universe,
Yeah.
but in the...
616?
Yeah, the normal one. It's Hobie Brown. He's like a genius kid. He's also in the Spectacular Spider-Man show that I love so much, but he doesn't really say anything. He's just there. So yeah, canonically, Spider-Punk been black, which is dope. Great actor, great movie. I'm sure it's going to be great. I am 99.9% sure that this movie is going to be awesome.
We only have a year until it comes out to find out.
That feels so long. More casting news. It's so much casting. Lin-Manuel Miranda is Hermes in the Percy Jackson TV show, right?
Yes.
Yes,
This is for me and Colin.
it is.
I would like someone, community, engage with me. Explain what happened. Because, like, Lin-Manuel Miranda came out with Hamilton and it was like, cool. And then he started working with Disney and it was like, cool. And now people have decided he's like Satan or something. I don't know. It just seems really weird. He's one of those people that, like, people have turned on and I don't really get what happened or why. But hey, he gonna be Hermes? That's fine. I'm interested to see, well, how that develops, how he interacts with Luke.
If he interacts with Luke.
He will. I'm sure he will because they already said they're expanding on the first book. They're not just... Because I guess Hermes doesn't come in until the second book.
He doesn't. He's not a character until the second book.
And Rick Riordan said, like, yeah, we brought him in early because we are fleshing stuff out that we didn't flesh out in the first book, that I didn't flesh out in the first book. So I assume he'll probably interact with Luke at some point.
It could be interaction with Luke.
I
Could
hope
be.
so.
Or lack of interaction with Luke. Better
Well,
yet,
well, yeah,
since,
yeah.
the Greek gods are deadbeat parents.
Right, right.
Yeah, it could be. I think Lin-Manuel Miranda is a good choice. I think, like, the funny thing is that the movies and the TV show have not missed in their casting of the gods, because Nathan Fillion was also a really good choice for Hermes for the era that movie came out in. But Lin-Manuel Miranda just feels like he would be a really good Hermes. He feels like he's got the energy that I imagine that Hermes would have. To be fair, every version of Hermes in my head is based off of the animated Hercules Hermes, so that's a lot of energy. I mean, I'm just excited about the show in general. And every time they have a casting announcement, I'm, like, really surprised at, like, just how big of a star they managed to get onto the show.
Yeah, I keep thinking that, like, because the show is based on a book series that first started a long time ago. Not a long time ago, but, you know.
We were in high school when
We were in high school, and then the movies came out, and they were what they were. It just feels like no one would really care about this.
Yeah.
But, like, hey.
But apparently Lin-Manuel Miranda is a fan of the books, as is his son. So that makes a lot of sense. It seems like they're casting a lot of actors who were fans of the book before the show came into their lap. So that's exciting. Apparently, they have already cast the big three gods, but they haven't announced who's playing them yet.
All right.
Have not made them public, but I look forward to the day that they do, because I'm curious as to who they've gotten for the big three.
I'm just saying, I guess it doesn't really matter, but I kind of need Hades to be black. So,
That would be dope.
Why do you need this?
well, I guess, are the twins his kids too?
Yeah, Bianca and Nico.
I guess Hades doesn't have to be black, but Pluto does for Hazel. I guess not.
Technically not. She could just be mixed, but it would be
could.
more fun.
Yeah, but then at the same time, like,
And also, she's from like New Orleans in like the 1920s or something like that.
right? I mean, are they gonna do the different versions of the gods? Like, is
Well,
Mars gonna be somebody else?
That's
as
only if
opposed
we
to-
get Heroes of... Well, no. If we get Heroes of Olympus, they should be the same person. It's just different aspects of themselves, a different type of personality.
Yeah,
It's more fun if they just keep the same actors. Anyway, we're getting way off like to potentials of what could be in the future of the Percy Jackson television universe, which I hope does happen. All right, next piece of news.
MCU. Sasheer Zamata is in Agatha Coven of Chaos.
As is, I think Eric Andre got cast in something, and I think it was Agatha Coven of Chaos. But yeah,
Double check that.
I haven't seen any Eric Andre news. I'm excited about this because I watch Woke, and now I know who this woman is.
Oh, nice. I like her on Saturday Night Live.
I did hear she was on that too.
Yeah, she's really funny on that. I really enjoy her work on there. I thought it was really cool when her name popped up for an MCU because I would
Yeah.
never have guessed that.
I'm seeing reports of it from a few different sites that Eric Andre was also cast in Agatha Coven of Chaos. As who knows?
Well, yeah, they're
Interesting.
keeping all those under wraps.
There it is. I see it now. When I search Eric Andre and then hit news, it's just him suing airline police.
Oh.
So, different thing. But there it is. I'm about it. I like her. She's very funny. She's very talented. I know nothing about this show. Just, it's going to be some witches.
I don't think anybody knows anything about the show, but at this point, we keep getting casting announcements, so just stay tuned. We'll be giving Marvel Studios casting updates as they come.
Speaking of casting updates, back to John Wick. Keanu Reeves is in talks to return as John Wick in The Ballerina.
Yes, but also I'm curious because will Keanu be like a supporting character? Is he like second headline with Ana de Armas? Or is he just kind of cameoing as John Wick? That's what I'm mainly curious about. Like, how big of a role is he going to have in this movie? Because I kind of lean towards I want Ana de Armas to have to carry this on her own and let this be the Ballerina's action movie. But at the same time, I also love John Wick. So,
Yeah, I'll be happy to see him if he's there. If he pops up once, gives her a head nod, good luck. This is something
quick,
silly
yeah.
in John Wick, yeah. I'm cool with it. If it's like a tag team, if they tag teaming people, cool with that too.
She did a great job with that in 007.
But either way, I'ma see it because John Wick movies are dope. Ana de Armas is dope. That's all you need.
True, I do like those combination of things. I'm also just really excited. I just want Ana de Armas to star in movies that are great and interesting.
Was Deepwater great and interesting? It was interesting.
It was interesting.
I didn't see it. I thought about seeing it. She's going deep.
Oh, but she also did The Gray Man this year too. I forgot.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I liked that one. I don't know if
She's
I'd
been
say-
busy.
She's always busy.
Was that 3 movies this year?
Yeah.
Wild.
But to be fair, Deepwater was supposed to come out a while ago. That one was kind of just on the shelf for a long time.
Oh, right. Right.
Because that was supposed to come out in theaters. And then COVID hit.
Oh, it's old.
Yeah. Because it was when she was dating Ben Affleck.
Yeah, I was going to say that makes sense. They were together when it happened.
And they were together when the pandemic hit. And now the pandemic is supposedly over. And he is now married to Jennifer Lopez.
Wild. The way things change. Anyway, Dune, the prequel. It casts Travis Fimmel.
This is for me. I love Travis
This is
Fimmel.
for you. Dune, the Sisterhood, to be clear.
Yes, Dune the Sisterhood, which I'm excited for because I like all things related to Dune 2021. But also, I like Travis Fimmel. He is fantastic on Vikings. If you've never seen Vikings and you like historical stuff, I recommend it. Or if you just like action stuff as well, because the action on that show is also very good. He played Ragnar on that show, Ragnar Lothbrok, and he was fantastic. He's also in that World of Warcraft movie.
Yeah, I saw that listed on the thing.
It was fine.
Yes, that was fine.
I didn't see
It was fine.
it.
But he's great. He's a really good actor. And I just like seeing actors that I like end up in franchises that I like because I'm planning to watch those things anyway. So the better for me if I'm watching somebody I already like in the franchise. Kind of like Ana de Armas being in the John Wick franchise.
Right.
This just works for me. That's really all I've got to say on that. I think he's playing a captain of some sort, a soldier or something. I don't remember. It sounds like he's playing a character that is far more straight-laced than Ragnar ever was, because Ragnar is the chaotic being. I'm excited to see him play the type of character that I haven't seen him do before. Especially within the Dune universe, because that's very different from Vikings.
To me.
Yes.
You know it's just called the Duneverse.
Oh.
Fantastic.
The Duneverse.
The Duneverse.
I like that.
I'm hoping that they do give it an official title and they call it something weird, like the Universe of the Worm or something. The Wiggleverse.
Don't like that. I like that a lot less. The Wiggleverse. Gross. All right, that's the news. Ending with the Wiggleverse. We made it. We finished another one.
We did, in a lot less time than we thought we were going to.
Yeah, apparently Colin thought we'd still be talking about Black Panther.
I thought we would too. He's not wrong.
Well, thank you, audience, for listening to all of that. All of our Black Excellence talks and our news talks, our trailer tracking, the boys, surprisingly enough. Thank you, Crown Digital. Right? Lots of superheroes. And Donald Glover. Thank you, Crown Digital, Brandon, and Io for putting us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. To me, thank you for editing, putting us on YouTube, being down to talk about Black Panther forever with me.
Going through emotional turmoil to even watch the movie.
I mean, yeah.
But that's everybody in the world, so.
Times is rough. Colin, thank you for your 10-minute take on The Boys.
Yeah.
The one thing on that list that you added yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because not many people know this, but I started the list after you gave a 10-minute take on a Nathan Fielder show.
Yes.
And I was like, ooh, we could make a list out of this. And then we had like more people come in. Or
Jordan came in, and then I've added one thing.
One. And then Colin threw on The Boys, much to everyone's surprise.
And here we are.
And here we are. Wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for that.
Anytime.
Audience, what did you think of Black Panther Wakanda Forever? What about Atlanta? Did you see these things?
Did you cry during Black Panther Wakanda Forever?
Yeah. Or
Did you grieve?
Dallas.
Or are you a soulless robot like
Please.
Dallas?
There it is.
Oh, okay.
What'd you think? What'd you think I was going to say?
I thought you were going to say, did you cry or are you anti-black?
No.
But then you can't do that because you'd be telling yourself.
I was going to say, did you watch them or are you anti-black? But, you know, also you could be a soulless robot like me and just not let the tears fly. I don't know. I don't know what happens. Anyway, let us know in the comments or hit us on Twitter at y'all_different, Instagram and Tumblr at Creative Differences Podcast, Facebook.com/Creative Differences PC, and TikTok at Creative Differences Pod. We be talking.
We definitely be talking.
We be talking. I need to talk more about Atlanta because this show,
there's so much to talk about.
It means so much to me, and now it's over. I just want to talk about it more. So hit me up on Twitter and or Instagram. We can talk. I'm at a king named Simba.
There are still 20 things on my 10-minute takes list, but there could be more. What weird things have I not heard of that I should watch 10 minutes of? Let me know on Twitter at Doug McGuck.
If you guys want to find me and talk to me about Black Panther Wakanda Forever, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Dreamy Films. Dreamy is spelled DREEMI. Thanks again for joining us. Tune in later on this week, and we will be doing a Throwback Thursday for Enchanted.
Oh, yeah. That's an interesting one. Y'all should watch it. You can find Gabby on Black People Meet. I don't know why. I think maybe it was just all the Black Panther, the Atlanta just got wrapped up in the Black Excellence.
I'm surprised you didn't pull up Black Planet.
I thought about it. I thought about Black Planet. Yeah, Black Planet's better. You can find Gabby on Black Planet. She's the only one there because it's pretty much gone.
I don't know. Black Twitter might be heading back that way with Twitter going the way it is.
If we can get a Black Planet resurgence, because that's like the generation before us.
It is.
That's where they were hanging out at. So now everybody's aunties is going to be wilding out on Black Planet again. I can't wait. Anyway, it's been different. But so.
Okay.
Very recently.
Yeah.
Like extremely recently. One of our friends, we don't need to say who, was talking about Nokia. And how that thing knocking. What are our thoughts on that?
I personally don't know how I feel about Nokia and knocking have the same beginning sound.
That's why he did. Genius comes when it comes to me. You can't.